Good evening and a warm welcome to all of you. We're very happy to have you all. And so today we're going to present Beyond Speech, the Power of AAC. So as we know, October is International AAC Awareness Month. And that is why we wanted to do this and highlight the voices of AAC advocates.
So before we start our presentation, just give us the opportunity to introduce ourselves. Some of you know us, some of you are quite new to this. So we just thought we will take a minute to introduce ourselves. I know it is not about us today. It is all about the AAC users. So I'm Dr. Preeja. I'm a speech language pathologist and I'm a private practitioner. I practice in Bangalore, Koromangala. My center's name is Octave Speech Center, and I'm also a part of the inclusive preschool called Kinderland Preschool. Anjana?
My name is Anjana Sathyabodha. I'm a speech language pathologist. I am the founder of Subodha, an organization, a startup focusing on providing accessibility, communication accessibility to all. So our vision is to make communication accessible to all. So I am based in Bangalore. Both of us are based in Bangalore, and I work online as well as take in-person sessions. So we have also put up our email IDs and phone numbers. So if you can make a note of it and contact if need be. So moving on, we're very excited to present our AAC advocates. So I will start by introducing our first AAC advocate. I've just put it in an alphabetical order. Very happy to introduce Aditi Soumyanarayan. She's 19 years old. Mode of communication, typing on Avaz keyboard as well as on computer. So her main mode of communication is typing to communicate. Welcome, Aditi and family.
We have Navneet Kulkarni, who is 19 years old and whose mode of communication is typing and spelling on letterboard. Welcome, Navneet and family.
Next AAC advocate, Nishant Sriram, 28 years old. Mode of communication uses Avaz app, typing, and also spelling on letterboard to communicate.
We have Ritvik Gupta, who is 18 years old and who communicates using Avaz app and typing.
Welcome, Ritvik and family. Next, we have Sanjit Wankamamidi, 14 years old, mode of communication, Avaz app, typing, and also spelling on the letterboard.
Welcome
and family.
We have Saurav Das, who's 19 years old, whose mode of communication is cough drop app and spelling on letterboard.
Welcome, Saurav, also known as Gopal. Welcome, Saurav and family. Last but not the least, we have Tarun Paul Matthew, 19 years old, mode of communication, uses cough drop app, AAC app, and also types and communicates.
So before we go on to the next slide, I just want to put a groundwork of what we actually did before we put this whole content together. So as we mentioned, Anjana and I have been working in the early intervention space, communication space, AAC space for quite some time. And during our journey, we have encountered a lot of questions from families. Can someone put, I don't know who is this, but put yourself on mute, please. Yeah, so in our journey, we have encountered a lot of questions from families on how to start AAC and anxiety around starting AAC, and is it what we should be doing? Is it the right path? How does it affect speech? There are a lot of questions that we have constantly encountering in this journey. And so we thought that we will pick up a set of questions that are commonly asked And what we did was we sent a set of these questionnaires to a set of AAC users that we know personally, or we know through social media, or some that we have worked personally, in whatever capacity that we could identify them. And we have sent this questionnaire to these families. And we requested them to respond to all the questions or any of the questions that they choose. So some of them have responded to all the questions, some of them have responded to some specific questions. And we have compiled these responses in today's presentation. We have tried our best not to edit the message in terms of changing the meaning of what they intend to say. We might have compressed some of the messages, but the actual idea or the intention has not been touched. So it comes with its own, some of them have certain grammatical changes, I would say, which we have not made. We have put it the way we have received it. So do look at it from the point of their intention or their perspective today. Yes?
Thank you. So we also, to add on to that, we strongly believe in listening to lived experiences, and we want to, we go by this slogan that nothing about AAC without AAC advocates.
Yeah, so take this opportunity also. I think Anjana and I would like to thank all the families involved here and the AAC users for really supporting this venture or this activity of ours. And again, as I said, it was not an easy thing for you all to come forward and respond to these questionnaires, but you have all done that, and a personal thanks from both of us and from a lot of families who are going to benefit from this. Yes, Anjana, let's start.
Sure. Okay, so we have divided the questions into some basic themes. So first theme is questions related to starting AAC at an early age. So questions related to early intervention. So our first question that we sent was, do you believe that starting AAC at an earlier age would have been beneficial? Why do you think so? To this question, Aditi has answered, I can vouch for the fact that it is beneficial. I was introduced to spelling out my responses to questions asked when I was 6. By the time I was introduced to text-to-speech on Aavas, I was very familiar and comfortable with using text as a mode of communication. And this made it a lot easier for me. Achieved independent typing skills both while using Aavas and while working on the laptop. To this question, Navneet says, yes, starting AAC at an early age is beneficial for non-speakers and for the speakers who are struggling with communication, because autism affects speech and language development and socialization. With the use of AAC, they can communicate, interact with people properly.
Nishant responds to this question by saying, I started using PECs when I was 6 years old. Before that, I felt frustrated. I feel that if it had been introduced when I was 2 years old, when I started losing my ability to speak, it would have been better for me. I started using AAC apps like Aavas when I was 14. Before that, I learned to type at age 13 and letter chart at age 10 and Go Talk at age 9. I would have been less anxious as a person if I had this earlier in my life. Sanjit says, yes, I need not have been misinterpreted for my communication needs. Expenses incurred around therapies for speech would have been saved if I had been given AAC.
Very witty answer from Sanjit there. To the same question, Ritvik agrees. In agreement, he says, yes, early intervention, introducing AAC at an early age is beneficial. Tarun says, it makes it easier because perhaps have a lot more time just to think and learn. Of course, it becomes a lot simpler for communication.
So to conclude, I think what they all want us to know is that it is so important for us to think of starting AAC at an earlier stage. And when we say earlier stage, we always say it is now. So let's start thinking of using AAC more as a priority rather than the last option.
Yes. So AAC is not the last resort. AAC should be started as early as possible. It should be considered as a starting option. So next theme is speaking to communicate. So there are a lot of questions that we receive about speech. And so here are our questions to the AAC advocates. Why are you unable to speak? So we're putting this question as a very layman, common question. To that, Aditi says, well, nature has created me in such a way that it's difficult for me to get more than few words out of my mouth. No matter how hard I try, I just find it extremely uncomfortable. Navneet says, there is no single reason for not speaking. I want to tell people that speech is a motor action and communication is cognition action. Combining these two forms is oral way of communication. The connection between the left and right hemisphere of the brain is important for speech and language development. But when a person is dealing with complexities, channeling right and left hemisphere of the brain, it affects person's speaking abilities. Another reason for my non-speaking is the articulation of sounds, which I'm struggling due to tightness of my jaws and lips. I am unable to speak orally, but I speak with my hand. I have different ways to communicate. People should understand that speaking is not the only mode for communication.
Sanjit says, speech may bring out immediate response, but I'm also speaking in my mind and it may take some patience to express. Ritvik says, I find it difficult to speak and I have speech articulation issues. So to conclude this, why are you unable to speak? I think we constantly hear this line that, but families feel that my child is quite lazy and he's not attempting to speak. So actually they have listed down, the AAC users have listed down that they have genuine problem actually trying to speak. And we should be sensitive towards that when we are trying to work on speech.
Yes, and as professionals, we always say that if a child is able to speak, they will always choose speech as the mode of communication, because we always tend to choose something that is the easiest that is available to us. So when there is genuine challenge in speaking, that is when we'll have to really look at alternative and augmentative options. So moving on to the next question. Would you be willing to participate in traditional speech therapy that focus on helping you to speak better? To this question, Aditi says no, I am not interested. Ritvik says yes. Navneet says no, traditional speech therapy is going to work on speech development alone. They all need to be connected with the brain first. Making a child to look at face, giving eye contact while articulating sounds is the revision of traditional speech therapy. But every child's challenges are different. Finding the root cause of non-speaking of each individual is very important.
Nishant says, yes, I would definitely want to participate. I wanted to try to speak again and I like to use my voice now and hence have explored certain strategies to practice saying words. I need to practice more. And Sanjit says, yes, because my mind speaks a lot and my hand goes slow in spelling. Tarun says, yes, mostly because of the universal nature of speaking to communicate. So to conclude or to answer this question, I think what we would want families to know that each individual has their choice. And I think we should leave it to the users to decide whether they want to look at speech, in quotes, speech as speech, or they would like to look at communication in general.
And these answers are also kind of eye-opening to us and surprising to us, because speech, as some of them have said, speech is the easiest and is a very natural mode of communication, and wanting to, at least having the desire to be able to speak, is very natural. And hence, although they advocate for AAC, the desire remains. Next question. Would you still need AAC if you're able to speak at times? That Aditi says, there are situations typically stressful or overwhelming when some of my verbal peers find it difficult to communicate verbally. This is one situation where I believe AAC will be of real help. Sanjit says, yes, I may not tell my thoughts exactly the way you tell through speaking, as my speech may not be understood. So they also agree and acknowledge that AAC is required even when they are able to say few, when they are able to speak minimally, because that will not be sufficient enough to communicate everything that they would want to communicate. And in situations which are, leading to, which are stressful or leading them or having a meltdown, that is when speech becomes very difficult, even in children who are able to verbally speak. So that is when AAC is really, really required. Dr. Preeja, you want to add on anything to that?
No, I think you said it all. I think it is important to know that speech is, though we feel that speech is enough, it is always better to give them, since communication is multimodal, we would always say that open up another modality for children so that they have choices to communicate at times when they need it. The next theme is whether AAC is an essential tool. And the question asked was, do you view AAC as an essential tool for communication? So, typical of Aditi says it is as essential as a toothbrush. Nishant says these tools are my lifeline. They make me feel understood. Sanjit says they are essential for me to think on how not to respond on my speech, as another person may not understand my needs. Navneet says, I view it as an essential tool for my speaking alternative.
Saurabh says, it is an essential tool. Like we use the clock to see time, some of us use AAC to talk. Tarun says, not only essential, but very limiting too, because of people not adhering to AAC etiquette, following them not regularly. That makes our mode of communication at odds with just about every speaking person. People also fail to understand other communication modes apart from those that are device-based. So here, all of them have acknowledged that it is an essential tool, and they have used they have compared it to, many essential day-to-day tools. In addition to that, Tarun also highlights the importance of communication partner. I think communication partners should also be attuned to not only device-based communication, but also to other modes of communication. So he also emphasizes on AAC etiquettes, such as waiting and tuning into multimodal communication.
The next question that we asked was, does access to an AAC system help you to communicate your emotions effectively? The responses are, Aditi says, yes, I use the text-to-speech feature in Avas to communicate. I type what I want to say and the app speaks out what I type. A bout of dengue in July made me anxious, but what helped was that I could ask all the questions and doubts that came to my mind, and this helped me allaying my fears to a large extent. Navneet says, yes, I'm a multimodal communicator. Initially, gestures were the only mode of communication before using typing or pointing, but it limited my communication because I was not able to share my emotional pains, nightmares, and anxieties. When I started using tablets and letter boards to express my feelings, I was able to describe how my emotions seemed. It felt like painful needles, showering, pinching my body. My palms and feet used to be cold due to nightmares, but now AAC helps me self-regulate.
The same question. Nishan says, yes, by accessing the zones of regulation folder created on Avaz and the letter chart to explain more. Sanjit says, I think they help me. They make my life easy as people are more aware of my likes, take my interests seriously, and my capacity to spell thoughts is biggest blessing to bring out my emotions. And he is also poetically expressed like rainbow in the sky. My emotions are wide, but they are not easy to hide. I learned to sail with the tide.
Tarun says, not always, because more often than not, lots involved in getting an understanding of my feelings. I may like something, but may not use the right words to communicate my emotions. It may look like I never understood my emotions, but it has more to specifically do with needing support to communicate them better. So, to conclude, I think what they all want us to know is that AAC does help them to self regulate, and they have used various strategies within the AAC system to communicate. But at the same time, like how Tarun puts in, he says we would need some specific support to identify the emotion and also find words to communicate them better.
The next theme is accessibility of AAC in the community. So within this theme, our question was, how can we make AAC more accessible in the community? To that, Aditi says, besides advocating for tax cuts on devices bought for the purpose of installing AAC apps and advocating for AAC in educational institutions, what would help is the establishment of communication boards in public places, thereby making them more accessible. Navneet says AAC users can use the devices anywhere. There are no restrictions for carrying your AAC devices in public places. Communication boards can be installed in public places so that non-speakers who don't have literacy yet can point at pictures and communicate.
Nishan says some of the voices of non-speaking individuals are making people aware of their abilities, needs, and use of AAC. We can educate the public by placing visual menu cards and information charts in public places. Ritvik says by educating people. And Tarun says, Tarun has actually coined a term called the AAC illiterates. And he says people, that means AAC illiterates, making an effort to recognize or understand or use AAC is one aspect that he wants us to know. And the second is finding methods to place responsibilities on non-AAC users by highlighting the deficits, which will help communities find ways to make AAC accessible within the community. So I think what they all want us to know is that one is creating an awareness. Secondly, providing access to communication systems in public places. And thirdly, educating non-AAC users about AAC so that they find effective ways of interacting with the AAC users is important.
Right. So he says it's a two-way street. Not only the responsibility not only falls on AAC users, but also on non-AAC users to get themselves educated, become aware, and support. So next theme, last theme, AAC advocates messages. So we ask them what messages they have. Firstly, what message would you like to share with parents who are considering AAC for their child? Very important question. To that, Aditi says, everyone deserves a voice, deserves to be heard, and deserves a shot at autonomy and independence. And AAC helps facilitate all of these for non-speakers. Navneet says, grow with AAC by using multimodal means of communication. Don't think that AAC is holding your child's speech. In some cases, the child starts to speak slowly when they start communicating. Speech is very complex for autistics, so connecting with people by using AAC is more comfortable. Presume competence. Don't be skeptical about your child's abilities because non-speaking is not non-thinking.
Nishant says, focus on your child's achievements, not their failures. Reach for more than what you think is possible and be patient. Sanjit says, believe in your kid, believe in other non-speakers. Magic happens in personality, rowing in a boat of elevated confidence. Very poetically, Sanjit has explained this. Tarun says, parents, you be the rock for your child. Giving access to AAC is not the solution. The more important thing is to advocate for the child to be given opportunities to use AAC for better knowledge of your child's capacity. Of course, also support your child to use AAC like speaking people use speech all the time. So what they are all trying to say is, one, presuming competency. I think you must have heard this in many podium, and I think many times you would have heard it from your speech language pathologist. And I think what is important is to be patient in this journey. And more important, like how Tarun says, it is also important that we as parents believe in the child's potential, be an advocate for the child, provide opportunities for communication, and support the child to in many ways, including providing access to AAC and also providing opportunities to use the AAC in various environments.
Our final question was, what is your message for the general public as we are trying to create AAC awareness among the public as well? To that, Nishant says, believe in the potential of all. Saurabh says, speech is not the only mode of communication. Learn and respect other modes of communication too. Aditi says, AAC for non-speakers is what ISL, Indian Sign Language, is to the deaf community, and wheelchair for those with mobility issues. And its use should be normalized just as much.
Navneet says, I want to tell people that every person is an AAC user in one or the other way, because you're not only using speech for communication, but different modes of communication in your daily life with gestures, chatting through gadgets, using text to communicate. Then why this restriction only for non-speakers? More than 80% of mothers use gestures while communicating with their children. Gestures are the first language of babies. Children learn to speak through gestures. Instead of pointing at us for not speaking, point at yourselves and see how much you're dependent on AAC. This AAC Awareness Month, I want to convey to people to respect all modes of communication. Sanjit, in his poetry, I need a voice. I need freedom of expression. I need people to take my opinions. I don't need their reasons to not to teach me. I can, of course, have my thoughts to be heard. Listen to them. Speech or no speech, it does not matter. So I think it is a very open message for the public, that one, respect all modalities and believe in their potentials. Don't underestimate that just because they are not speaking doesn't mean that they can't be given the opportunity. And giving them an access to AAC means that you are giving them access to equality.
Yes. So very powerful messages, advocacy messages from everyone. So we are concluding this power-packed, presentation perspectives from our AAC advocates by using this abbreviation for AAC. Navneet has coined this abbreviation. AAC stands for Allow All to Communicate. So we'll go with that. Allow all to communicate and allow all modes of communication is what we would like to conclude this presentation with. So again, our intention was to highlight the voices of AAC advocates and AAC users. So nothing about AAC without AAC advocates. We are very thankful. Many thanks to our AAC advocates and their families for taking the time to respond to the questions.
And today, some of the AAC users and families are here with us attending this session. I also see some speech language pathologists, some families. I also see some chat messages asking us about how to implement AAC. I think it's a big question, but yes, there are specific ways of doing it. It might be a little difficult for us to describe the whole process of how to start AAC. But yes, if there are any questions specific to this presentation right now, let's finish off with that. And then maybe we will respond to you personally in more detail about how to go about it.
Sure. I'm just looking at the questions, if there are any questions. Any comments about what we just heard?
I would like to highlight that in some of the slides, if you have seen, it's such an impressive thing to see that I think we always believe that, if you start using, if you're starting to use AAC or if you are a non-speaker, you won't have a sense of humor or you won't be poetic or you won't have proper words for communication. But I think that totally, these slides totally bust those myths because we see humor in some of their responses. We see poetic expressions in some of those slides and choice of words and some of those coined words are quite impressive. And I think we all need to start again thinking of it from the point of presuming competency. And ACE is not going to reduce the impact of the so-called, if you say the child had speech versus a child is using AAC. I think it has opened the doors to, I think that the doors are open whether you're a non-speaking individual or a speaking individual if you have to access language.
Yes, absolutely. So some of their responses reflects the lived experience, right? Which cannot be, we cannot express the same way as professionals. It reflects their emotions, their struggles, their wins, their successes. So they are able to answer a variety of questions in a very impressive manner.
So we have AAC users. Sorry, go ahead, Anjana.
it comes across as very strong and powerful. What I
Yes.
want to say.
And also, I think we need to understand some of them are authors, bloggers, artists. And being non-speaking individuals have not limited that ability of theirs. I see a very interesting question from Nayantara here. And if the AAC users are around and if they would want to respond here, or maybe we can take it up later, but I'll just put the question across. Nayantara wants to know what behaviors from the community or communication partners do you find unhelpful? So I leave the question here. If there is an AAC user who would want to respond, or we would take that up as a question because it is an interesting question that I think as communication partners, we would all want to know how to make ourselves better as partners for communication. Thanks, Nayantara, for that question.
We've also got some basic questions about AAC. For example, Barnali says she's Barnali Brahma. She says she's new to all this and she would like to know how AAC looks like and how it works. Any references that we can suggest for her? I think Barnali, you can look into the some social media handles. Subodha, my social media handle, I have been sharing information about AAC, some basic information about AAC. You can look into that.
I would also give a briefing on like an AAC need not be a very high-tech system. You could even have a simple alphabet board and help the child use the alphabet board for communication. You could even consider gestures for communication. You could even think of use of pictures for communication. And if you're thinking of technology, I would say you could consider certain apps which have pictures as a set of, say, dictionary with them that you can use for communication. And some of these apps with pictures have voice output. So that gives it a better edge for communication. And as we are working on these systems, we are also using certain strategies to communicate. And what is more important at this point is to understand that it is just not about giving an AAC system. It is about how we use the AAC system to communicate using these specific strategies.
Yes, absolutely. So getting an AAC system is only the first step. Getting trained as a communication partner in being able to use it is definitely the crux or the core of the matter.
Yeah. Nayantara's question is being answered by Saurav. So Saurav is asking us for some time to communicate, and he says, be patient with me as I respond to it. Yes. Yes, Saurav. Meanwhile, Saurav, we will continue with our set of questions, but we will wait for your response.
Pooja has a comment. She says, such a lovely presentation and love the answers by the AAC users. In fact, even so-called speaking autistics use AAC when they use typing on a laptop, as it's easier than speaking. Yes, very true. And in fact, all of us that way are AAC users, as Navneet said. We all are multimodal communicators. And of course, even autistic individuals who are able to speak fluently will require an augmentative mode of communication at times.
Thanks, Suja, for highlighting that point, because I think when we talk about speaking individuals, for whatever reason that we are talking of communication impairment with them, it doesn't mean that we need to stick on to only one mode of communication. Sometimes that mode could be limiting the child's way of communication. And it's always nice to explore various modalities to communicate. So thank you for getting that point highlighted.
Also want to add on to that all our AAC advocates still use gestures and body language and rely a lot on other modes of communication, not only device based communication. Depending upon the situation and the need, that is why we always strongly recommend access to all modes of communication and communication partners attuning to all modes of acknowledging all modes of communication. If anybody wants to unmute and ask a question or have a comment about this, please do so. We have a comment from Eric Renault. Hi everyone, very empowered by the voices of the advocates. Every word reminded of the impact of AAC in their lives. Actually surprised by the vocabulary in the answers too. I'm a beginner to the profession. It's been a few years. Now I'm very much empowered and feeling motivated to introduce AAC as early as possible to the children I'm giving therapy. Appreciation for the presenters for compiling all the answers in such a legit manner. Thank you. Have no doubt, Eric, go for early intervention. Thank you for your interest and passion.
Yes, Gul and Ria, yes. Training on AAC is very important because at times I think where we fail as professionals, I mean, I would want to stick on to my comment as a professional is that we are only providing an access to the device or an access to an AAC system, not realizing that it is just the first part, as Anjana says. It is just the first part for us, but how do you go beyond that is more important in terms which determines the success of the use of AAC. So what is important is how do you start this journey with the system is important as compared to just providing the system.
Yes, and oftentimes the example of this example is used. If you get an instrument such as a piano, it doesn't mean that you will start playing the piano, right? You have to take classes, you have to learn how to play the piano. And similarly, an AAC system or device, there's a lot of work that needs to be done around it.
Is there any parent or anybody who would want to put in a word here about their experience or their journey? Yes, Pinky.
Yes. Hi, Dr.Preeja. Hi, Anjana. Another myth like I would like to share here is that if you start late, then it is not helpful because our journey started very late. It started with Anjana 2 years back. We started when Gopal was 16. So till it is possible. So initially I was also apprehensive. I asked many times to Anjana that did you work with like adults or so this is the biggest myth that like after a certain age they are not going to respond to the thing. The process might be slower, it might take more time. Of course, early intervention, like all of the AC advocates, it might like makes the process a bit easier, but it is not impossible. So this is the common thing I wanted to voice it out, that you can start AC at any age.
Thank you, Pinky. I think that's a very needed response, because many times parents feel not now, maybe it is too late or it is too early. And I think the most important question that we need to ask ourselves when we start the AAC journey is, why do we want to start this? And if we have a definite answer, and if we think that AAC is going to give us that option, we should consider AAC. And the question that you ask, when do you start AAC? We would always respond to it as now. And that now is now. It doesn't make a difference at what age you start it now. Prashanti wants to say something.
Yeah,
Yes.
hi. This is Sanjit's mother. Thank you for the opportunity, Preeja and Anjana. So, like everyone are saying that the vocabulary and everything are so good for the AAC advocates. So here I want to highlight a point that, like as soon as you hand AAC device or AWAS or anything, the communication doesn't happen, just like that. We as parents, we have to work on ourselves before expecting the child to even respond, and then like introduce them to a lot of vocabulary through, like through a lot of literature. It need not be like academics as such. When I say academics, again people will start thinking of schools. But when like Sanjit, he never went to any school. He was never part of any inclusive setup or whatever it is. So we just do some random academics, and he picked up vocabulary and lot of storytelling. So many things I observe in Sanjit is like are even other AAC users, that they're quite good in auditory. They learn a lot through auditory memory. So it's important that you have to consider the fact that child is learning through the environment, and he or she just needs a mode to express, and that mode, it is up to the parents to discover the mode. Like it can be through typing, it can be through the spelling or whatever. Like you have to explore multiple modes of communication. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Very true, Prashanti. And I just want to add one more point here, that so when you're working on a communication system, say like an alphabet board or a gesture system or a technology-based system, it is important to remember that we are not checking the child's ability to use the system. Our focus is communication. So if the child is communicating using some other modality for a particular need, or for a particular, say, for commenting or for responding, honor that response. It is okay that the child is not using the system. The child is still communicating. And why are we doing this is for communication, and we are already getting that through communication. So don't prove the ability of the child on a communication system. So we have a shout out from some SLPs here, Ria, and I see some more of them saying a big shout out to families who participated in this activity. Without you, it would not have been possible to understand this better. And there are good takeaways from this. Hima's question, how can we support parents in reducing their anxiety and increasing their acceptance of AAC for non-speaking or minimally speaking children? I think I will start with my response, and maybe Anjana and maybe other parents who have gone through this journey, I think they would be a better bet to answer this question. So please feel free to jump in and respond, but I'll start with this. Since I work with early years, I think I see the major anxiety that parents have is that, are we giving up on the attempt to work on speech? Are we going to be into an AAC approach? That means my child is not going to speak. I think that is the biggest myth, because many a times we have seen that introducing AAC has only helped develop speech faster. But having said that, we have also had children who have moved into the AAC path completely and they have not spoken. The second anxiety that I see again at a very early age is which school would accept my child if he's non-speaking? That is a question that I would leave people to think about, because accessing academics in the traditional approach is something that we will have to now think about in general. Maybe there are curriculums that are open for our children to access and help our child to bloom better. So I would leave that question for parents to think over. But yes, there are schools in the early years that definitely are open to AAC. Maybe in a picture system or a technology-based system, though the numbers are, I would say, limited to handful, but there are systems that are open to it. And there are systems where parents have advocated the use of AAC and have got the management to accept AACs. So it is not an impossible target. It is definitely a difficult target, but not an impossible one. Anjana?
Yeah, I would like to answer Hima's question. I would like to revisit Aditi's answer. It has to become a norm, such as ISL is for the deaf community, or wheelchair, or hearing aids, or even glasses. I know it's not that simple. AAC system is not as simple as wearing glasses, but acceptance-wise and reducing stigma around it has to reduce. And so it's a journey. We're all in that journey, and all of us, the stakeholders, are trying our best and trying to contribute in our own way. So yes, it's definitely a journey, and like Dr. Preeja highlighted, it's going to be a journey for parents as well as for the general public or community, the education system. So many components have to come together. I think teamwork is really important. Collaboration is really very important. We should look. I think we should do more in that direction. Not only work in silos, but also collaborate with educational.
And community.
Community, yes.
Akhila, I see Akhila here. Would you like to comment on that, Akhila, or Pinky, or Barnali? Any of the parents who would comment on this?
I can go. Can you hear me?
Yes, Akhila. Thank you for joining, Akhila.
Yeah. So I think my son is one of the oldest, and his AAC journey started more than 20 years ago when he was 6 years old. So at that point, I lived in Bangalore, and we could, take AAC into his school. We just had to convince the school management, like you said. So he took his specs board or his letter board. That was his mode of communication. And also after that, for 3 years, we were in the US, where it was a norm. They gave us that voice output device for him because he just had the specs board. So it was given by the school system. So it's really high time that we, normalize use of AAC in whatever environment. School is one of the environments, but whatever environment, and the only way is to, of course, we like our AAC families who then take AAC everywhere, and everybody like at least gets curious about it and gets to know. But that's going to make only very small impact. I think the biggest power can be wielded by you guys, speech language therapists, to whom children come. And if you start using AC not only for because the question said for non-verbal or minimally verbal, you start using it for the kids who speak also, yeah? And then you'll see that it impacts them. And you start, that's the way to go, I feel. Like, we are talking about big words like universal design for learning. So there has to be a universal design even within a speech therapy clinic where everybody has access to all the tools. And then let the child choose whether they want it or whether they need it. So that would really impact, because then that wall that this is a verbal child and non-verbal child, I feel that itself, there are a lot of barriers in that space, both in the professional space and the parents. Then also there is a differentiation there. And, and I've seen many children who can speak benefit a lot by using an AAC. So, that's one thought I had, because if we can use it with everybody, it will help. And again, similarly, then if schools start using it, all the kids, every classroom is also taught, every child, whether, has a communication barrier or not is also using an AAC, it would become the norm. Because usually the other way around, I've been told by certain schools I was really shocked because in the mainstream schools, his AAC device was accepted. And this is long ago I'm talking. And we're still not reached there it, right today. It's become more restrictive over the years as schools became aware. But if you look at, when Nishant at some point moved into a special school, we were told to hide the device because other children were getting distracted. So things like that should not happen. You know, uh, uh, it should be accessible to all. That is the main thing. And as a parent, uh, would you not want to know what your child is thinking, feeling, what they their potential is? That is the question I would ask the parent. Uh,
Just to add, Akhila, I think to add that, don't you just want to know what your child wants, not just within the environment that they are in, or not just within their homes? I think I just wanted to add that word. Yeah, sorry, continue.
yeah, so that's no, I just wanted to leave parents with a question. That's about it. Because if we are chasing the impossible and then we are not looking at the possibilities, then that's something we've got to look within ourselves. Then for me, that was the motivation. I wanted to know, and my son also had a lot to say in many other ways that I wanted others to understand beyond me. So those were the motivators.
Thank you, Akhila.
Well,
Going back to Nayantara's question on what are those behaviors that you feel unhelpful in your communication partner? Saurav has responded, not giving me time to communicate, asking me questions without having access to my device, and not respecting me.
Very well
Thank you,
said.
Saurav, for that. Yes, thank you, Saurav, for letting us know that. Yes. Pinky has raised her hand. Pinky?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Akila's question. Like, as a parent who won't be like, want to know what my child is thinking. I have discussed this with Anjana, like elaborately. There are small towns still where people don't have like access to AAC, and there are so many myths about AAC and all. So still there are cities where people are unaware of the AACs, and there are a lot of myths associated with like this is very expensive and it is like so like Akila rightly pointed out, you guys are the one, like the SLPs have to like normalize that AAC is the like answer to it. Use it for everybody, like Akila said. Like in my city, like I am from Bhubaneswar, I came to know about AAC around 2011, I guess, when Gopal was uh, 6 or 7. That time I tried to use, I also bought Avaz and tried to use it for Gopal, but it didn't work out because we could not customize it according to him. And then we didn't found anybody. So maybe that was not destined. And then slowly, a bit of pecs and all, it was going till like in 2017, 18, like when my sphere increases, I get to know about, and then only we can like give it a try. So that is the thing. There are still cities where like in my place till now the SLP says that that is the second thing that will hinder speech. Till now the SLP says. So that is another thing, that awareness. I just hope that awareness with all the non-speaker, and I think talking fingers is like being the revolution in this, that people, the more people are like reading about it, came to know that AAC is possible, and like non-speaking is not equal to non-thinking.
Very true. Thank
Yes,
you.
so totally resonate with that. And I just remember one parent said, why not offer AAC as another language option? Just like the deaf community is trying to make sign language as one of the languages offered in schools, high schools, and colleges and universities. So AAC should also be made, like to make it as normal as
Available.
possible.
Yeah.
Yes, and, yes, UDL and AAC is something, it's an emerging field, and looking at AAC as a visual tool for learning rather than looking it as something that that is used by a certain group of children will be, I think, a good way of looking at it as from the UDL perspective. Yes, so that's your very valid suggestions.
Prashanti wants to contribute something.
Yeah. So adding on to whatever Agla ma'am and Pinky said. So I encountered like few of the one special educator in Hyderabad who was like, like when I said I'm using Avas and I want to customize it. So can you send me worksheets beforehand so that I can customize and keep it ready? Then her response was like, why do you want to use Avas? Because whatever little, he has two, three words, like he can say cookie dosa. These two are his words from the childhood. So whatever words he's speaking, that will also go away. See, when when the professionals themselves, they say like this, sometimes as parents, we lose motivation, right? So instead, like the special educator would have said, like, okay, we can try it out or something like that. So the motivation for the parents basically comes from the educators, SLPs, and whoever is working diligently with the child. And also, like every time I see that, as soon as we enter somewhere, then people will start asking him questions like, how he's doing. I want to see. So that's not possible. And his environment is something different. He responds to me in some environment, right? So it's not like they are testing. They are increasing the anxiety of the child. So everyone have their myths around the kids who are communicating, who are non-speaking. Still, they think that they are like we are working behind. There are so many things that people are assuming. I feel that it should start from the base, from the educators, that they should start presuming competence first. As parents, anyway, we presume competence, but they're always testing. Yeah.
Yes, that's yes, there are so many challenges. Um, we are trying to break the myths as much as possible.
Yeah, I would say it has definitely been a struggle since I think from the time that I have started working on AAC, maybe more than 2 decades, where we started with communication boards, bliss symbols, ribuses, moving to technology like board makers and, so other aspects coming in. It has not been an easy journey, but I see that the acceptance has become much better. Parents are more empowered, a lot more questioning now from parents, which is very good because, again, I said, if you don't have the whys, why do you want to do this? I think if you don't have the whys clear, you are never going to succeed in this process. So yes, I think I would say, I think to conclude today's session, okay, Ritvik says thank you. Thank you, Ritvik. So I think what we would all want to take back today, I think as SLPs, I think we have lots to do. I think there are a lot of pointers that the AAC users and families have suggested. So the audience who is here, I think as SLPs, I think there's a lot of responsibility on us to change the scenario and see how to make things, how to work on things differently. And as parents, I think there are lots to understand on how to go about this by presuming competency and other things. As the community, we have again a big responsibility on understanding how to make AAC accessible and how to make it a norm rather than make it, something very specific or something very different. So I think all of us put together can really see how to make this as a movement, as compared to just one of those days of AAC Awareness Month that we are talking about, and then, we just disappear from the scene. So I think on behalf of Anjana and me, I think we both would like to thank each one of you for being here today and thinking through this with us and letting us know what are the different ways we can think of it and what are the ways that the non-speaking individuals are thinking about. And so thanks a lot, Anjana.
Yes, I resonate with you, with your thoughts, Dr. Preeja. So thank you all very much. And we are a team, and we have to go forward as a team. And our AAC advocates are really showing the way. I think AAC advocates advocating for AAC is still something that we should, we need to create a larger AAC advocates community that is going to make a lot of impact. And of course, each one of us have our own roles in it. So thank you all very much for your kind attention, and thanks to all the participants, thanks to the AAC advocates, thanks to the parents, families. Thank you all very much. Have a lovely, have a good night, and see you around.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anjana. Thank you, Preeja.
Thank you.
It was amazing, really amazing.
Thanks, Suja. Thanks, Saurav. I can see you.